The martial arts world is a wonderful experience for most people. Those at the top can sometimes find things a bit sticky with all the politics of different styles and organizations. And how can someone cross those lines in order to make people work together more harmoniously? So we're going to talk to someone who has done just that today on Black Belt Life. When we talk about the pioneers of the martial arts, a lot of names come to mind from the decades past, like Funakoshi, Mabuni, Miyagi, Motobu, Nakayama, Kuniba, Oyama, Hayashi, and so many more. But when you talk about the present day pioneers, one person comes to mind in not one, but several martial art disciplines. And this person has crossed style, art, and organizational barriers to bring many people together to unite the martial arts. Working together allows us to accomplish some incredible things, such as getting karate in the Olympics. So it's my pleasure to introduce ninth degree black belt and president of the USA Martial Arts Federation, Hanshi Roger Jarrett. Welcome, Hanshi.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you here, and I see you got the memo what color shirt to wear, so that's good.
Yes, looks good. Great
Absolutely.
minds think alike.
We look like twins.
There you go.
You're just the one with hair.
Yeah, well, very gray hair.
There you go. That's right. Now, you're accomplished in a number of martial arts, including Taekwondo, Karate, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Aikido, Kobudo, Iaido. Am I missing any? That is extremely impressive. And how did you? I love to ask this question because it's such great stories. How did you get started in martial arts?
Well, I started when I was very young, as a young boy. A typical story of I was overweight, I was awkward, I was being picked on, bullied, and so forth. I tried other sports and other activities. And at that time, if you couldn't run fast or move fast, whatever, there's a picture with Hanchako, one of my first teachers, so I got involved with martial arts through several reasons, and it changed my life. It was different, the thing about bringing a child into a martial arts setting, it's not designed to necessarily work as a group or as a team, although you eventually are a team in many ways, but it's individual. Everyone progresses at their own individual pace. Everyone is a different individual, and you're there to make yourself better. And so it really changed my life. Now, as far as all the different martial arts, the fortunate thing is when I started in Korean karate, also known as Taekwondo, not exactly the Taekwondo that you know of today, in the Olympic movement, but it was Korean karate. For me, there's Korean karate, there's Okinawan karate, there's Japanese karate, and in some aspects, Chinese karate, because it's where it all was based from. But I started in Korean karate, but on the same day I started in judo. So for me, it was one and the same. I just understood that I was doing this, and that was just part of it, And so because my instructor taught both. And so that's how I was raised, and then also Hapkido. I started off with that right off the bat. So for me, it was that way. And I was very fortunate to have that upbringing and to have that ability. And as I explored it, I got older and so forth. I eventually got into Aikido in the early 70s. I felt that it was a little bit more refined than the Hapkido I was doing. Nothing against Hapkido, but and I found it very interesting, and also the work with the sword and other weapons there. And so I was caught up. I was brought up in a time where the Korean instructors were having some difficulty there with the conflicts of politics, between what was happening in Korea, between the old Korean karate, the ITF, the International Taekwondo Federation under General Che, which we were very involved with, and then when he left Korea and they formed the new World Taekwondo Federation, and their push eventually to put Taekwondo in the Olympics, they started changing Taekwondo and trying to make it look different from karate for that purpose. And
right,
so I was
before they looked very similar.
They were. It was Korean karate. I mean, there were some older Korean martial arts, Taekyon, Subak, and so forth, that some of the lineage of Taekwondo comes from, particularly some of the kicking techniques and so forth that were more variable there. But as far as we were doing, the kata or the forms or the hyung, the patterns that we were doing in the Korean schools were the Japanese Okinawan forms, which we still practice today in my dojo. We started adding the ITF, some of the more newer Korean forms, as we were leaning that way. And then you had the WTF that came in and was trying to come to the United States and get all the Korean instructors to switch to the WTF. So they had their own system of forms, the Palge and eventually the Taeguk. And we added some of that, but eventually we just tried to get away from that political fight that was going on. Nestled here in the hills of West Virginia, I was able to get away with it. I started training more consistently in Japanese karate, which I like because the Japanese tournaments were more suited to the way that I was brought up for fighting and competition. And because of my judo background, I could sweep, I could do other things that I like doing. So it very much attributed me. And then, of course, my relationship as it developed with Kiyoshi Yamazaki Sensei, who became one of my senior Japanese karate instructors, and also my Iaido. I really first went to him for Iai, the swordsmanship, which I'd done some in Aikido and I'd done some other Iai programs. And then I started studying consistently with him for Iaido and also Kobudo. So it's just one of those things that just happen. It's one of those things that sometimes you don't plan it. You're in the right place at the right time, and things just start to evolve. Now, one of the things is I developed in my own personal martial arts was that I saw a lot of people that would interblend a lot of the different martial arts. We have the term today in modern times, mixed martial arts, MMA. But many of us are all MMA in some ways.
Right.
For you, and I know you, and I knew your teacher and so forth, and the background you have, was a true Shogo Budo, which Shogo Budo is traditional mixed martial arts. It's taking traditional martial arts and putting them together to make a more solid foundation. And a lot of the older teachers, the older Japanese and even Korean instructors, would send their students to different masters to learn different arts in order to strengthen their whole base of their martial art. And so within our schools, the USA Martial Arts Federation, we've developed it so that we try to study each one of those martial arts that you name as a separate science. And then as we study it separately and purely, when we do blend it together, it's much more technically correct. Again, I've seen many people over the years that have done this. And most of my senior black belts have Dan rank in all those different martial arts.
Wow.
In fact, I have a lot of people
That's
that
great.
have elite status in martial arts. In our martial arts organization, they try to strive to have Dan ranks. Like, you take my son Christopher, which some people know that is, and my daughter, both that are involved with different martial arts. But you take Christopher, Chris is a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo, 5th degree black belt in Karate. He's a 5th degree black belt in Aikido. He's a 5th degree black belt in Iaido. He's a 3rd degree black belt, getting ready to test for 4th degree black belt in Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. But they're doing this and studying it separately. Just like if you go to school, you study math and science and English and history. Well, all that together is an education.
Right.
But you study each one of those. Now, you might have a preference. People begin, well, I like science better than I do, English or whatever. That's normal. But for us, we want to study all of it. In fact, even in our karate, even if someone is not studying and getting a Dan rank or something in each one of our martial arts, when they're taking high-level karate tests starting at brown belt level, all of our tests include Aikido portion of that test. There's a pure Aikido exam, there's a Judo Jiu-Jitsu exam, and there's a Kobudo exam. So they're testing in all those different martials they come up. And I'm hoping that this makes them better martial artists in general.
Absolutely.
That makes sense?
Yeah, no doubt. And and as I've often said, Soki Kuniba always encouraged us to study other things because it gave us a better understanding of what we were doing, of course. And it very much like you, I've tried to do the same thing in my dojo. I have separate arts and separate classes for them, and a lot of people study the same thing. I mean, study them all. So that's great. And your dojo is very much a family affair, of course, with your whole family involved, your son, your daughter, your wife.
My wife is a 6th degree black belt. My daughter's a 6th degree black belt.
Wow.
My son's a 5th degree black belt. So yeah, it's very much a family affair. I'm very lucky as I've gotten older here that I have both my son and my daughter are able to take over from my wife and I, who started this many years ago, and are taking the reins at a lot of things. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes they're pushing the old man out. I still remind them who writes their paycheck. You know?
That's right. So now in your dojo, what's your focus as far as what do you try to get across to students besides just the martial arts?
Well, obviously, and I think this is true with any good traditional martial arts school, and I know it is with yours, that we're here for the total development of the student, whether it be a young child coming in and gaining more self-confidence, more self-discipline, learning a lot about manners, respect, courtesy. That's important to us. It's probably more important than any other trophy or medal or any other belt rank. I mean, obviously we want all of our students to be able to go beyond and earn their black belt and go forward. But if we can influence them in some way to help them in all of their lives to become better individuals, is what's very important, and be successful in life and carry on the ideals that we try to teach in martial arts. We've talked a lot about, we have the sporting aspect of it, but I never have had anyone bring a child into my school and say, hey, I want to make my child into a karate champion or a judo champion or something like that. They bring them in because they need some self-confidence, or they've been being picked on at school, or they're having a little bit of discipline problem. And they find out that we're also a great sport, but the sport is not the main focus of what we do. It's gaining that self-confidence, and I like the name of your podcast here with the Black Belt Life, is learning that this is a lifelong goal,
right?
And it's something that can help you throughout your lives. I know I was recently in the store shopping in the grocery store, and I had a gentleman come up to me and say, "Hey, how are you?" And you're Master Jarrett. And I started talking to him, and I said, "Yes, it's good to see you." And he said, I had my kids in your class, and they had only made it up, I think, to like green belt. He says, they're adults now and they're doing this, but he says, I just wanted to come up to you and tell you how important that aspect of their lives was, that training that you did, and a lot of those things that carried on for them. And although they didn't choose to go further with their martial arts, there was that influence there, and that's what we all hope for, I think, as instructors, that we can influence them in the right way.
Absolutely, and it's amazing what it does for young people as well as older, of course. But
yes,
those life skills are just amazing. I had kind of the same story. A man come up in a restaurant to me, yelled across the restaurant, "Sensei Myers," and he had become a lawyer. He had become very successful and that kind of stuff. And he just ran up to me and shook my hand and said, "Thank you for what you did. You set me on the right course and kept me out of trouble." I was like, okay. Great. Now, you mentioned earlier that you've had the honor and pleasure of being a student under Kyoshi Yamazaki Sensei for many years. What are some of your fondest memories of working with such a famous instructor?
Well, I mean, obviously, just the training in general with him. He is such a wonderful gentleman, a true samurai spirit, a true mentor to me. that has allowed. I mean, he knew of my Korean background and my other backgrounds, and we worked well together. There's beautiful pictures of us. We've been training for many years, and his daughter, who is excellent as well. She and my daughter sort of came up together. They're really good friends. He tried to. If you want stories about him, I mean, let's see. He tried to steal my son because he had two daughters, and he was determined that if Chris could come to California and go to college and just be there with him. And I said, "You're trying to steal my son," and so that was always fun. I mean,
at least
obviously
he's a good one,
Yeah, we tried to steal some of the others too. So,
I'm sure.
He, his work with several stars. I remember one time we brought him over for a camp to teach, and he was currently in Europe at the time working on Dragonheart, the movie with Dennis Quaid and Sean Connery. And so it was exciting that he flew in the middle of the production to do our camp and then had to fly back. And we were at a camp called Jackson's Mill, which is the boyhood home of Stonewall Jackson. And we were there, and there was limited phone service, but he needed to talk to someone. He said, "I need to talk to somebody in California. I want you to set this call up for me and talk to him." I said, "Well, who was that?" "Arnold Schwarzenegger." And so my first conversation with Arnold Schwarzenegger was to get him on the phone. And he said, "Well, call this number. You'll get the secretary." And I said, "What would I do then?" He says, "Just ask for Arnold." So,
hey, Arnie.
Things like, and he just takes it for granted.
Right.
With that, I was another story with Arnold one time. We were over at the Arnold Classic that they hold over in Columbus, and for several years we helped with the karate tournament as part of that. And Sensei was there with me, and he was wanting to speak to Arnold. Well, Arnold walks around with this huge entourage there,
right?
And suddenly Arnold walks in the building with this huge entourage, and Sensei starts yelling at him, "Arnold!" And I was like, "Sensei, he's a really important guy." And he's yelling at him. He's going to go across. So he goes across the room, and he just wheedles his way through this crowd to get up and yells Arnold. And then Arnold finally said, "Oh, Sensei, how are you?" Whatever. And then Sensei wanted me to talk to him, and this huge crowd who were all trying to take pictures and photos, whatever. And I'm actually getting out to try to take a picture as well. And then suddenly this arm or this hand comes and grabs me and jerks me through the crowd. Okay. And I'm like, "Well, who in the," and then I realized it was Arnold that had grabbed me.
Oh.
He does what Sensei asks him to do. But,
wow.
Sensei is always great. We've had such wonderful times with him. He is so personable in the training, and we haven't had to have him in lately. I talked to him. He's doing well. He's this COVID thing has shut a lot of us down.
Right.
He is the chief instructor for the Japan Karate Do Ryobukai, the Shendo Genenryu, and just a wonderful human being. Wonderful experiences with him. I remember one time that we were doing a demonstration at the Air Force Academy. And I don't know if you were there for that Nationals, where we had the Nationals at the Air Force Academy. And we were doing this big production later that evening in the big arena there, and had all the lights. And Sensei was going to do Yai demonstration, kata, and then some tamashigiri, some kate. And I was a referee there, and also at that time Secretary General, and he'd asked me, he said he wanted me to help him with the demonstration, and I said, "Do I need to change it?" He said, "No, you can wear your suit." He said, "Just I want you to hold this wara by the string out in front of me, because I'm going to cut this and then I'm going to cut that." And he wanted me to hold this, and I said, "Okay." So we're all very tired, and Sensei is sitting there, and he's leaning on his sword, and he's snoring. And I told him every once in a while, I said, "Sensei, you need to wake up." He says, "Are we on yet?" I said, "No, but you're going to cut at me with that sword, and it's very sharp, and I want you to be awake."
Yeah.
He just kind of laughed, poked me again, went right back to sleeping. Well, on the other side of me is Takeo Kubota Sensei, when Kubota Sensei is sitting there and he's very disturbed, and I said, "Sensei, are you okay?" He says, "Can't remember demo." I went, "Whoa, what do you mean you can't remember?" I said, "I can't remember the demo." And I said, "Well, Sensei, just go out there and trash your uke. Everybody will be excited." He goes, "Yeah, good idea." So when we go out to do this demo, Yamazaki Sensei get out there. He sits and says, he's sitting there with his sword, and we have this wara there. He's got it stretched across. I'm holding this up by this. Well, I had decided, by the way, to put it at the end of a bow or a short staff to hold it out there because I was worried about him cutting my tie off. And so anyway, he's sitting there, and I'm thinking, everything is silent. He's just sitting there, very quiet, the eyes closed. I thought, oh my God, he's gone back to sleep. And then all of a sudden, he opens his eyes, screams. He comes up, and there go the cuts, and he cut the wire in front of me and cut it again as it was dropping. And I looked down just to make sure I still had a tie on.
Yeah.
Sensei's a lot of fun. He's wonderful.
He is.
It's been a great privilege of mine to be a student. And now with Yai, and some people know this, some people don't, he's retired his position of the Yai Tate-Do Federation to me. So I am now the soke for that organization, and
wow.
So it's strange to go from Akagawa Sensei in Japan to him to me, and it's a very much an extreme honor and privilege as I continue his Yai, throughout the world.
And nobody more deserving than you. So congratulations with that.
And I know you're doing a lot, with Kuniba Sensei with his Yai too. So
right.
It's a special art.
Absolutely, love it. Absolutely love it. And you developed your school really into now a national organization under the banner of USA Martial Arts Federation. How many dojo are members of your organization now?
We currently have about 22.
Wow.
We've lost some, gained some over the, and we have some in Canada as well, that are all part of organizations through the North American Karate Federation. And we have the Martial Arts International Federation. But, our schools, we have in the schools, of course, a variety of the martial arts. So we have the USA Judo Jiu-Jitsu Association. We have the Chongshin Taekwondo Karate Association. We have the USA Aikido Association, the USA Iaido with Shoshin Yamaru with Yamazaki Sensei. So we have lots of things that are going on. Right. And then I serve on other boards and organizations. Besides USA Karate itself, I'm vice president of the United States Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and I'm the technical chairman for USA Traditional Kodokan Judo. So lots of different things that we're involved with.
Keeps you on your toes, keeps you busy, doesn't it?
Yes.
And keeps you out of trouble.
I hope so. We're just getting older.
That's right.
The political end of it is not good, but we never like to play the politics. And we're excited to see what's going on with USA Karate and what's happening with the Olympics. And I'm finishing up this October being on the board of directors for USA Karate, 23 years.
Wow. Through
several administrations.
Right. And several organization changes. Yeah.
Several organizations. I started off in the 70s with when we had AAU Karate, that eventually became AAU USA Karate. We had to separate from the AAU in order to be a separate sport and the USA Karate for the Olympic Committee. And that was all under George Anderson, who again is one of my teachers and mentors that has been very important for a lot of us here in the United States in karate. Then of course became the USA National Karate Federation under Julius Theory, which I served as Secretary General for many years, and then as president of the organization to help reorganize things and move it forward. I want to thank you personally, Hanshi Myers, for your efforts over the years in USA Karate. I don't know how many of them know that, as I hope they do, how important you were as a director of tournament administration and a director of marketing and things that helped us run many different events.
Yep.
that have become so important into moving karate forward. And there's been so many over the years that have
Yeah.
moved.
Yeah. I was
And
happy to
we're
help.
very excited.
I did it for 15 years. So,
Yeah,
and
it was very important, and our U.S. Open that you were so instrumental in helping with that out there in Las Vegas. You know, the U.S. Open that we have many years ago, we had nothing in the United States. We had our nationals, but France had the Paris Open. There was the Dutch Open. There was all these tournaments, and myself and Bill Bly, who had American Samurai Magazine, we kept pressuring Dr. Theory that we need to have some sort of international competition consistent here in the United States, not only to draw those athletes from around the world so that we as a national federation can hold an elite competition, but also for our own athletes here in the United States so they didn't always have to travel overseas to be an elite competition. The first USA Open that we ever had, we held in Charleston, West Virginia.
I was there. Yep.
Yep. And we wanted to build it. We knew, I mean, I love Charleston, I love my state, but we knew that we needed to have something, a better situation that would attract the crowds from around the world to the United States. We looked at several places, Atlantic City, New York, Miami, Orlando, different places. We settled on Las Vegas. And I think it was a right move, and built the USA Open up to what it is today. And still moving forward with that. So thank you for your help.
Yeah, I mean, and what you guys did, you built it from like 250 competitors in West Virginia to about 2,500 competitors in Las Vegas. I mean, and I think at one time we had 55 countries there represented. Yes. I mean, amazing what happened with that. And that was, that was really your vision, that got that there. So that was tremendous.
Yeah, as I kind of retire off the board, I'm very proud to look back at things like that were great events, and I hope that it will be remembered and that we move forward. I'm just so excited that we have that, and we need to have more here in the United States.
Absolutely, yep.
I'm planning on running the North American Karate Federation Championships and start bringing in different countries as we expand in different things here in the United States.
Fantastic. What talking about all the organizations and of course the Jiu-Jitsu Federation, the Judo Federation, the Aido Federation, of course the Karate Federation. I have always admired your talent for crossing those styles and organization lines to bring people together and to get them to work together. I can remember I believe it was in West Virginia, you had AAU President Joe Mirza there. You had several different organization presidents there. How do you do it? What's your secret to bring people like that together?
I think a lot of it is to be honest with people, to have a genuine and sincere desire to work together, to try to put aside some of the politics and look at the benefits that everybody brings to the table. Part of that at that time was when I was had quickly become president, and I was determined to, because it was kind of separate in karate in the United States, and we're trying to bring those major organizations together so that we could further our Olympic bid. And we needed to bring that organization together because there's good in all of it. So bringing back, Hanshi Anderson and bringing him in there from the old USA Karate to myself, where I was the current president of the USA NCAF, bringing in Joe Mirza, who had done so much with the AAU and our grassroots program there, to bring them together to sit down in one room and try to work out some of our differences. And we did to some degree. The AAU, along with myself, USA Martial Arts Federation, are affiliate members of the USA NKF, and it's an important part of that. I think bringing back the old and the new, bringing back, I still have a lot of people in USA Karate Federation that are involved. Matt Hickey, who's been a good mentor for me, and we worked strongly together, both in the karate and the jiu-jitsu, to bring things together. And I think it's the idea, it's just the way I was raised. Good old hillbilly here from West Virginia, but I think it's my family, my background, my work in the church, and being able to bring people together and try to be honest with them, and also to understand that no matter what organization you're in, even what style of martial arts you're in, it's all really one big family.
Yes, absolutely. And you've done a great job of bringing those families together as one. So I commend you on that, and I'm sure you'll continue to do that. I agree with you. It's that West Virginia touch that you've got. And of course, you served in the past as the Secretary General for USA Karate and the president, and been on the board, like you said, for forever. And you're leaving the board now after 23 years. I commend you for that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
That organization is going through some big leadership changes now. What can you tell us about that, and where's USA Karate heading?
Well, I think that, it's time. I mean, obviously, and I've been trying to push this in the last few years, and I've been on the board, that we have to look toward the next generation of people coming up that will take over. Now, that board we have several of us that are time. We've termed out. Myself, John D. Pasquale, Toki Hill, who have all been very important, Doug Jefferson. Our terms are up. Now, originally, they were actually supposed to be up last year. There was kind of a hold put on that due to the pandemic,
right?
Due to the fact that there were really no membership. Our memberships are always generated every year by the Nationals and the U.S. Open. None of those competitions were held, and so everything was put on hold, and also to get through the Olympics, so there wouldn't be a disruption. So we are now holding that election in October, and the Olympic Committee is asking that the board take a different look. So we've also added one more athlete to all the committees and all the boards. So the board of directors, like Doug Jefferson's seat, that was an independent director, will become an athlete. Okay, so it'll be a third athlete on the board. The U.S. Olympic Committee is wanting more athletes representation on a lot of boards. Toki Hill's position is coaching. They're really getting away from having like coaching directors or referee directors. They're wanting more what they call at-large or independent directors.
Okay.
And in a lot of the boards with the Olympics, they like to have a lot of business individuals on there. Somebody that may have some martial arts experience or may not.
Right.
So Raul Bawa, who is the current interim chair from Cincinnati, the only relationship he has with karate is his daughter was, trained in karate in Cincinnati. And he's not really a martial arts. He's a sharp guy. He's an IT guy. He's worked with different companies and different boards. So we're trying to get different people with different perspectives to come. The only problem is, and this is true when you're dealing with Olympic as a sport, is that we are more than a sport. We are a martial art. And the Olympics they're concerned more just about the sport. They're not concerned about the martial art. And it's up to us, and we've seen this happen with judo, we've seen it happen with taekwondo, to where dojos just become sport-oriented because that's what they're pushing toward. We've got to remember that's we don't want to see that happen with karate.
Right.
So the only fear is having a lot of non-karate people on the board that really don't understand, one, karate as a sport, which is one thing. The other is karate as a martial art, as a way of life. And that's what we try to keep going. So there are going to be some changes. I encourage people to go to the USA Karate, USANCAF.org, and go to our website and look at how the elections be held. Nominate people. There's a process there. People that want to try their hand at the board. We're encouraging new faces on the board. It's time for a new generation, but the old generation, we're still here to help you. Just like when I came on the board and started doing things, I was still relying on Hanshi Anderson and Hanshi Pat Hickey and other people that had done a lot of this in the past to help me. And even when Dr. Theory left the board and so forth, we always still relied on it. And I'm hoping that they'll still rely on some of our things, but they'll have new ideas and new ways of doing things. And we're excited about moving forward. and we're hoping that karate can again remain or be put back into the Olympic program. We're still a Pan American. We're still part of the Olympics. We're where we were before we were in the Olympics last year or this past year, and we are a Pan American level Olympic sport, and we're still the national governing body, and we're looking forward to returning to full Olympic status.
Fantastic. And we had 4 USA athletes from USA Karate go to the Olympics this year. That was awesome. What are your thoughts on karate's debut in the Olympics this year?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought the presentation was great. I want to commend the World Karate Federation, particularly a friend of mine, Mr. Escalante, Javier Escalante, who was running the referee corps and making everybody look sharp and very good there. I think that I think our presentation for the sport was very good. I think the competition was very dynamic. And I don't want to downplay because, I'm involved with Taekwondo, but the reason I'm in karate is because I didn't like the route that Taekwondo was taking. And I thought that karate looked so much better than Taekwondo.
Absolutely.
I thought it was even better, better than the judo as well. I think we were the premier combat sport that was there. And again, a lot of people want to say we had 4 athletes, yes. But, the way that the structure of the Olympic program is now, with new sports that are coming in, they don't take whole teams from countries. Like, we don't send a gymnast, like they have a gymnastic team or a basketball team or whatever. I think that they send, what you have to do is you have to qualify. Like, our athletes had to go to tournaments for over the past 2 years and qualify at different events throughout the world in order to garner enough points to be recognized in different ways in order to go to the Olympics. So the United States qualified 4 athletes. There were only about 4 or 5 other countries in the world that did that.
Right.
And most countries only having 1 or 2 athletes.
And the United
States, we were so excited for our athletes and what they did and traveling, the support we got from the Olympic Committee, and to get these athletes that had this great potential to the Olympics program was fantastic. I mean, take it for instance when we talk about the United States, they're doing the same thing to other sports. So, like for instance, judo. Here in the United States, we also only had 4 athletes that qualified in judo to represent the United States.
Wow.
And none of those athletes medaled. We only had 2 athletes from Taekwondo in the United States that qualified for the Olympics. They were both female, by the way. And one of them won gold medal. God bless her. She won the gold medal. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
But, so a lot of people don't understand the process anymore of how Olympics. You see a lot of other sports, including other martial arts, that are saying, hey, we're being recognized by the Olympic Committee. And that's great. They don't understand the road that's ahead of them. We were recognized by the Olympic Committee in 1985. What year is this? This is 2021. We made it.
Finally.
And so they don't understand the long process that sometimes you have to go through.
And the depression and the heart attacks you nearly have during it.
Absolutely.
We came close so many times. We really did.
The future of the sport is great. The future of the sport is great. I think that I'm excited. But even if, let's say, that karate never returns to the Olympic stage, and I feel that it will. I hope that it will. But let's say it doesn't. We still have a fantastic sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
You and I have been involved with this sport for a long years. And, myself, I've had the privilege of being a U.S. athlete. I've had the privilege of being a U.S. coach. I've had the privilege of being an international referee for the United States. And then also to serve in executive positions. I've had the privilege of having over 50 of my athletes make the U.S. team over the years.
Wow.
And travel the world and represent the United States at international competition. My daughter, when she was 13 years old, won gold medal at the World Junior Championships in Budapest.
Nice.
And so I've had that privilege in my students and my family. And so we have a great sport. No matter what happens, we'll still continue forward.
Absolutely.
And with having a great sport, but more importantly, with having a great martial arts that can benefit children and adults in many different ways.
Fantastic. And USA Karate has the Nationals next week, which you'll be heading to.
The Nationals, normally the Nationals are held in July. As you well know, you help run a lot of those events. The Nationals are normally held in July. They voted to move it to Labor Day weekend because they were worried about what was happening with COVID. And, of course, we couldn't foresee that things would get worse in the fall and not better. So that's unfortunate. But we are having the championships. We don't have any restrictions other than having to wear the mask and so forth. The competition is smaller this year, but that's expected. All tournaments and so forth. People are just getting back in the swing of things. And because the tournament was moved to right after school starts, it's difficult. I don't take it. I'm not taking near the team that I normally would take. But it's going to be a great competition. There are going to be national champions. Right. We are going to get things moving forward. Next year, we'll be in Spokane, Washington, back in July.
Wow.
And we're looking forward to the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And those that do go to the Nationals this year have a better chance because there'll be less competition. So
there is less competition this year. So come on out.
Good luck, everybody.
That's right. Absolutely.
And you've got a tournament coming up in West Virginia in November, right?
Right. We have our USA Martial Arts Federation Championships in November the 13th here in West Virginia. It is an open tournament for anybody to participate in. We do use USA Karate rules and licensed officials, but it's a fun tournament. I encourage people to go online, look at it. You can sign up through Tournament in the Box, which handles a lot of our tournaments, and I think it'll be it's always a great competition. We hold 3 tournaments a year here in West Virginia. This one, we hold a USA Karate event in February, and we hold the Mountain State Tournament, which I've been running for 41 years.
Wow.
In the spring in April. We're also going to be hosting the USA National Jiu-Jitsu Championships here in West Virginia.
Wow.
We're going to announce that date. We're working on that. It was supposed to, again, been this past year. This year is the 50th anniversary, this past year, for the 50th anniversary for USA Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
And for that organization, I'm also, besides vice president, I'm the chief referee for that organization. And so we are going to host the National Jiu-Jitsu Championships.
Fantastic. Terrific. I need to talk to you more about that because we have a jiu-jitsu program and we've never been involved with that, and so we need to do that.
We need to get you involved. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So you're moving out of the executive position of USA Karate. What does the future hold for Roger Jarrett?
Obviously I'm still going to be supportive of the National Federation. I've put too much long effort and emphasis into it over the years. And my students, I have my son who has been on the U.S. team several times, and many of my athletes that maybe want to go on to the coaching aspect of it. And we have many of our athletes that want to make the team. There's nothing more exciting than making that U.S. team and having the privilege of traveling internationally and representing your country. So we're going to be very involved with it. I'm going to be very supportive and helping with it. And at the same time, building my own organization still. I'm still here building, more effects with our international competition, with our different competitions that we host. We have a lot of seminars in several martial arts that we host each year, and expanding our dojos. We have the USA Martial Arts Federation itself encompasses different styles and systems of even karate. And we have, schools that come to us that are Shito-Ryu or Shotokan, whatever. And as we introduce to them the other martial arts that they're involved with it, to expand their martial arts knowledge and really to help dojos across the country expand and can do a true traditional mixed martial arts and expand their dojos and have professional schools across the country.
Excellent.
So I'm not retiring. I think my kids semi-retire me a little bit. It's really good nowadays that I don't have to teach every class.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
And that it's nice to walk in the dojo. I have a great, led by my son and my daughter, have a great staff of black belts that are running a school. And I can walk on the floor and teach a class, or I can not.
Right.
And that's such a good feeling, too.
Yes, it is.
With my granddaughter and have to deal with that. I'd rather sit and hold my granddaughter than necessarily.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those pictures. You're enjoying
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. So, I can't thank you enough for this, and we really, I've learned a lot, and I've known you for I don't know how many decades. I don't want to say, okay.
Okay.
But for those people who'd like to know more about USA Martial Arts Federation or get in contact with you, how would they do that?
Well, I mean, we have our website, which is currently under a new construction, which is we have the USAMAF .com, and then the one you're showing there is the USA Martial Arts Training Center. We have the USA Martial Arts West Virginia .com or USAMAF WB. So there are many different ways of contacting us. Email, obviously, you're showing the email there, and
Don't forget
my
Facebook.
photos at Facebook. We're on Facebook. That's the big thing. Go to Facebook. And you can call the dojo number 304-722-4512. I'm open to anyone, anybody that wants to talk to me about martial arts or interested in the things we do, or just wants to shoot the breeze or ask about the politics or whatever. I think just like I'm so excited about what you're doing with this, with
Thank
the
you.
YouTube and so forth. You were always such a great personality when we did the productions. You were there as the voice that told what was going on in our competitions and the announcer and so forth. And I'm so excited as you continue, and we're using this new technology that we have, just like a lot of us that taught on Zoom this past year.
Right.
And everything.
Yeah. A
there's
year
lots of
ago, I
areas
didn't
we
even
do.
know what Zoom was. Now I
I
think I
didn't
could
know
teach
either.
classes than that,
We had to be very inventive in all.
Yes,
the
we did.
That sparks it sparks new things that we can do. So I'm very
Right.
excited.
Yeah.
And
Just a couple weekends ago, I was teaching a class with I think it was 15 countries from our organization and
Yeah.
several hundred people, and I'm teaching a class all over the world, and we couldn't do that
We-
before. It's
we did-
amazing.
we've done that. Like we had our instructor seminar this past year where we have licensing for our instructors every year, and some of them couldn't make it. Some of them were still fearful of traveling, and they were on Zoom. And I had I had people all over the gym floor training, and I had people on Zoom asking questions. And it's a new world. I mean, I did recently the other day. I did a Zoom test at my dojo in Fort Lauderdale. A judo test over Zoom, and it's great to be able to do that.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, it's amazing. And I mean, just to be able to have this interview, I'd have to come to West Virginia, or you'd have to come.
Yeah.
And here we
Right.
are, both sitting at our dojo and having a great conversation. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you very much for this. This is great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Please leave a comment down below if you'd like to ask some more questions of Mr. Jarrett or myself, and we'll be glad to answer. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and if you don't hit it, he's going to put you in that arm lock right there, okay?
I think it's my son tapping out now.
That's right. See, don't let him get you in that position. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications, and join the channel. We're happy to have you. Roger, again, thank you so much, and
Thank you
pleasure
very
talking
much.
to you.
Good talking to you, Jared. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we'll see you all next week on Black Belt Life.